At the end of this episode of Doom Patrol, Mr. Nobody speaks to the audience and said a lot of the things that I've been thinking about Doom Patrol, even though I liked the show, which I thought was funny. I think there was a line, he's like breaking the fourth wall and walking around in that white room, the white light, that's lit up with white light. And there's that Doom Patrol poster. And he says, like, finally, after like 13 episodes of like meandering schlock or something, this show finally turns into a superhero team show or something like that. And I thought that was funny. Because one of my complaints about Doom Patrol so far, even though I still enjoy it, is that I felt it was kind of slow. I do like, though, how, like, the last episode we saw them start to function as a superhero team when they broke into the ant farm and functioned as an actual team. And, this episode, Rita helps galvanize them, to motivate them to become a super team and take the fight to Mr. Nobody. It does look like they're going to function more as like a coherent team, more like what you would expect from a traditional superhero team, working together than they have in the past. Although, it's one of those things where you have, if that's the case and Doom Patrol does become more like a superhero show from this point forward for the next 2 episodes and maybe season 2, go on into the future, it may be a situation where, be careful what you wish for, because I'm sure, I still enjoyed the first season, even though I thought it might have been a bit slow, and I guess maybe I'll miss it when it's gone. Oh, I remember those nice character-driven episodes. I'm sure the show will still have that. But, I didn't think that, the first season was terrible or anything. It was just, a bit slower pace than I expected from a show like this. But, of course, I still watched it all the way through. But interesting. So I guess he wants the Doom Patrol to do something for him. Maybe that's why he hasn't killed them, because he was masquerading as an old man to, manipulate, or push Rita to have like a therapeutic moment so she could find her strength and go back to the Doom Patrol and motivate them to take the fight to him. Mr. Nobody, I think, has been manipulating a lot of people behind the scenes throughout this whole season. So, I said before in a previous video, why doesn't he just outright and kill them? I'm thinking because he doesn't want to kill, he wants to use them for something. What that is exactly is unclear. The first Doom Patrol, the 50s one that he fought, the ones that went insane, I'm thinking maybe he tried it with them, but for some reason they weren't strong enough or didn't work out. So he's got to move on to this current iteration of the Doom Patrol. But, again, I'm wondering what his point was. He didn't kill them either. Those 50s ones, he just drove them insane and stuff. The way I think he's trying to do with this current Doom Patrol, what he was starting to do with Cyborg, right? When he manipulated Cyborg into beating his father almost to death. So, I am wondering what, his end game is going to be. To use, a phrase from a popular movie out right now, from a competing, IP, what is Mr. Nobody's end game? Because it's not like anything that's ever been in the comics. Because Mr. Nobody in the comics didn't really care about, using the Doom Patrol for anything. Not like he is in the show, so I'm curious to see what's going on here. And also, a big thing about this episode is the debut, sort of, kind of, Flex Mentallo. Technically, he debuted, last episode or the episodes, or the episode before or whatever. But here, he actually, debuts, as an actual full-fledged character on the show. And I looked up the actor who played him, and from what Devan Long, right, is his name? He has, like, tattoos on his arm in photos I've shown, but he has no tats, like, on his arms and stuff. But he doesn't have any tattoos in the show, so I'm wondering, did they digitally remove them, the VFX team? Or did he have his tattoos removed to play this character? Because, it's like, they're offering him, amount of money to be a character on a TV show. And it's like, well, yeah, I like these tattoos, but I'm getting rid of them, if I can get, like, a job as an actor. Or, maybe the VFX team, was like, we'll just take him out for you. So he still actually has tattoos? Interesting. Apparently he's been, like, on reality shows and stuff. I'd never heard of him before. Until, I found out he was going to be on this show. But just curious. But anyways, as for Flex Mentallo, the origin they gave him on the show is very similar to the one in the comics. I mean, a lot of the details are different in the comics. But in the show, he was, the hero of the beach. He was a muscle guy who could flex his muscles and change reality. That was his power. And, he's fighting crime. And he does, have a relationship with a woman named Dolores. And he's from, like, the 50s, the old days. Basically, the character, Grant Morrison created him and wanted him to be a riff off of those classic, Muscle Man ads you see in the comics. If you're somebody who read print comics, You in the old days, you remember like those print ads, and a lot of them would be like for this, like stuff that probably didn't work. But there'd be ads for like, take this or whatever, and you'll be a strong muscle man or whatever. And I think like stuff like that were in like magazines and books and stuff, like for years before, like in the 60s and 70s and stuff. And Flex Mentallo was created to be kind of a parody of that. But in the show, that is his origin. He's a guy, well, his backstory, he's a guy who can flex his muscles, change reality, he becomes a superhero. And then, the ant farm, the Bureau of Normalcy, captures him and, wants to use him as a tool. But I think his real, that was true, but he came from, I think the guy, the Wally Sage they mentioned, was like a psychic who was really powerful, and he like created him out of his mind. So Flex Mentallo is like a figment of like a psychic's imagination. And a really powerful one if it can create a flesh and blood human being who can flex his muscles. But Flex doesn't know that. But I think he finds it out later on in the comics, if I vaguely remember. So in the show, I think they'll have him remember eventually that he's not even a real person, sort of, kind of. I mean, he's real now, but he came from someone's head. It's really difficult to explain, but that's kind of his origin. Cool character. I do think it's cool and interesting how the Doom Patrol's membership seems to be a lot bigger now. I mean, it's like, as the show's going on, they keep accumulating more members. I mean, we'll see who lasts for season 2, but it does seem like, I think it'd be cool if the team as it is now are the main characters in the membership for season 2. Rita, Cliff, Jane, Flex, and Cyborg. Have I forgotten anybody? That's a good enough number to me. Oh, and Larry. And the Chief. Although, we'll see what happens when they find the Chief. Because I think season 2, we might see the Chief become more nefarious and he's been on the show. But anyways, one of the things that I really liked in the show was when they were watching that soap opera Secret Hearts. And, Cliff, as Flesh and Blood Cliff, played by Brendan Fraser, was doing bad acting. But his acting was so bad and over the top, you could tell that it was Brendan Fraser acting like he was a bad actor. Because it didn't seem like natural bad acting. It seemed like over the top bad acting. Because, Brendan Fraser is a better actor than that, of course. But he was playing a bad actor, I think, so over the top. It's not like he was really a bad actor in that scene, if I'm making any sense. But he was doing that on purpose, I'm sure. It was funny to watch him, overact as a bad actor. And I thought that was pretty hilarious. Those are some nice moments. And I'm wondering if they'll do more with that episode later on. Because they like to have, in Doom Patrol, they like to have people watching TV or watching news clips for funny moments in the show. Like in this one, we got another one of those like news clips with Animal, Vegetable, Mineral Man in the courthouse, or coming out of the courthouse. And it's interesting how they seem to have made in the show Animal, Vegetable, Mineral Man more of a harmless kind of joke character than the comics. In the comics, the Animal, Vegetable, Mineral Man was pretty strong. He was powerful enough to actually fight the Doom Patrol and give them some trouble multiple times. But on the show, it's like he's like some joke one-off character that they use for comic relief, which is fine. I mean, they can adapt the character any way they want. But I wonder in future seasons if they'll have him be like a more of a legitimate threat to this version of the team on the show, rather than just be someone to trot out for comic relief scenes, and then, you won't see him again for another like 4 episodes as another comic relief bit character. But whatever, it's nice to see all of these, relatively obscure characters come to life. I think that's cool. I mean, I like the Doom Patrol a lot, and so, I'm down. And so I'm ready. There's 2 more episodes this season, so I'm ready to see the Doom Patrol as a coherent fighting force. Let's see what this show's evolution into an actual superhero show is actually like. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please like it on YouTube and subscribe to the channel because I appreciate your viewership, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.